be right back.
Okay.
I'll show you what you need.
So, generally, this is what ZBrush looks like when you first open it. It's a little confusing when you start out. You got all these random buttons. You're like, oh my god, where do I start? Well, I'm gonna show you guys what I usually do when I'm starting. I just go to head planes, and I just grab like a default male head, and boom, now we can start sculpting. Generally, Parrish in his 333 class would have you use the spear method. Realistically, professional character artists start with just a male-based template or a female-based template. But yeah, time to start sculpting. So generally, how you move around in ZBrush is based off of if you're using like a mouse or a pen. With the mouse, it's holding down R to right click, holding on right click, move around to rotate. And holding on Alt, right click to pan around. And to zoom in, you hold down Alt and right click at the same time. Except you let go of Alt to zoom in and out. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, sick. Also, if you have questions, feel free to always like raise your hand or speak up. But yeah. So just to get a good layout for like what all these tools and folders are. So up here you have your alpha folder for when you're importing and exporting alphas that you either make in ZBrush or outside of ZBrush. And of course you also have different settings here to like modify the alpha and whatnot. And then you have your brush folder here. You know, just select certain brushes or create your own brush, which we'll do that in another demo. And then you have your dynamics dynamics folder for doing cloth dynamics in ZBrush. And then let's see what other useful ones is there. And then you have your draw folder. Usually I would use this, like open up a reference inside of ZBrush. And then you have your stroke. For when you're doing curve modifications and curve functions and whatnot. And most importantly, your tool folder. Here is where you do most of your operations for ZBrush. And most importantly, where you open up your subtool menus. So your subtool menu is basically like your layers in Photoshop, where all your meshes are at. Now how to bring in new meshes, generally you would append it in, just like so, and boom, you have a spear. And what you can do to move around between subtools, you can either hold down Alt, or simply just, whoops, click here. Now to hide a mesh, ZBrush made this really obvious. Just click the eye icon. And you're probably wondering what these other buttons here do. So these are your Boolean settings. And how you activate your Boolean settings is you click Live Boolean. And boom, just like that. And how you want to get those Booleans, you go to Boolean, make Boolean mesh, scroll back up, and here's the Boolean mesh. Although, also if you click Shift F, you can see your wireframe. And as you can see, the wireframe is not so optimal. But that's a little bit more advanced for what we're going to be doing in here today. So now you're probably wondering, hey, how do I start sculpting? Well, that's also a little simple. You simply hit B, and this is your brush menu. These are all the brushes that you have available to you in ZBrush. Of course, you got more. For instance, if you hit comma, you go to brushes. ZBrush also has all these fun little brushes that you can use to make your sculpts more interesting. Also, I always tell this as a fun little fact. to open and close the menu, like the lightbox menu in ZBrush, you hit comma. So let's get back to the brushes. So essentially how a lot of people use their brushes, or at least find them in ZBrush, is using hotkey menus. For this one brush, it would be B, C, B. Now you have clay buildup. For clay buildup, it's essentially, just as the name states, it builds up the clay. Well, it builds up just like clay. And how you make it softer and harder, you hold on, also you hold on space to open up the quick menu for the brushes. And to make it harder, softer, the focal shift, you decrease it to make it harsher / harder. And then you increase it to make it softer. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. Oh, yes.
I checked there was a sphere in my thing.
The spear?
Yeah, I clicked the sphere and then I don't know or make it.
That's better.
That was the major change I made. That made it look like her.
I just clicked on the other one.
Oh.
Yeah, it's looking, because I just think in my head of the Z-wrap
Okay.
show on,
Now, some other useful brushes would be B, D,
Are you gonna do Medicare?
S. That's your damn standard. Generally, it'll just make like harsh lines and whatnot. And how you want to, also another thing. How you invert the brush would be holding on Alt.
So real quick, that hair curve
You can do that with any brush in ZBrush.
on the subsurface.
And you're probably also wondering, hey, how do I smooth this? You hold down on Shift. As so. And to adjust your smoothing settings, hold on Shift, space, and play around with the Z intensity. For instance, if I don't want it to be as smooth, I just crank it down. Also, how do you go back and forth in the time lapse up here? Well, time lapse is your history, but it's pretty much the same as like any other Adobe program. Control Shift to Z to move forward, and Control Z to go back. Let's see. Some other useful brushes is B, T, B. That's your trim dynamic.
That makes sense.
So essentially, it just bevels out any edges that you have in your mesh. I usually do this when I'm blocking out, or if I'm sculpting hard surface. And speaking of hard surface brushes, you also have B, H, P. This is your H polish brush. It's basically trim dynamic, but on crack, essentially.
Is that 3D scan?
Another useful thing to know about ZBrush is that it has very useful masking options. Now, how do you mask in ZBrush is also really simple. You hold down Control, and just simply drag out like so. And how you invert that mask, you have Control, and you click outside of the mesh. And now you have an inverted head, well, inverted mask. And to get rid of the mask, you hold Control, and you drag out. Another thing to keep in mind, there's also multiple brushes for masking. And simply, you hold Control, you click up here, and these are your masking brushes. I personally like to use the mask curve. And how to use this mask curve is also simple. Also, for those that are following along, this video is also being recorded, just to let you know. So it's essentially the same thing as like any other mask, well, not mask, but any other like pen tool in a program. Except you keep on holding on Control, you hit Alt to make a curve. And then you double click the Alt to make it sharper. Just like so. And now he has a fun little hairline. You hold down Control, you drag out, and it's the same as any other masking brush. Another thing to keep in mind, you drag this out, you hold down space, and you can move around the line like so. Also have symmetry on, and how do you activate symmetry? Is by hitting X. And you can tell if it's on by seeing the 2 red dots on your screen. Oh, and for anyone that has a UI that looks different from this, so this is the standard UI that anyone that opens ZBrush should see. If they don't see that, that means that there is a custom UI on your screen. How you get rid of the custom UI and restore the standard one? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, some people like to leave theirs on computers.
Alright, so he's calling me out from last year. Don't listen to this guy.
It's like real rude. You get like real upset if you see that.
Only one person gets upset.
Disrespectful, for being honest.
Okay, alright. So you go to restore. Oh, so you go to preferences, config, restore standard UI. And there you go. That's really useful for anyone that comes into this room in particular and they see something looks really off. Some other things to keep in mind. So one thing that's pretty unique to ZBrush is its selecting mask. Oh, not selection mask, I believe. Oh, selection brushes. Sorry, I'm still trying to recover from being sick. And that's gonna mess up my brain a little. So Control Shift. I love these animators. They're really great. And it's just the same as any other brush. They also have their own separate brushes, as you can see. So Control Shift, drag. So green would do this. Control Z. You Control Shift again, except this time around you're gonna hit Alt, or hold down the Alt. Drag this out. It takes it away just like so. Now, to invert it is the same as the masking tool. So you hold on Control Shift, drag out, inverts it. Now to get it back to normal, you hit Control Shift, and you click it, just like so. Some other tools to keep in mind. Control Shift again. Now just like clay, or any clay tool, you also have a clip curve. And what this essentially does is slices away at a mesh, just like this. Another thing to keep in mind, if you want to combine this tool to be a bit more useful, you can combine it just like so. Control, mask it, invert the mask, Control Shift. Anything that you see that has that dark gradient at the top, that's where the mask would do its thing, essentially. You see? Now you got a guy that looks like that one dude from JoJo. What's his name? Pontiff? I don't know. I haven't seen JoJo in a long time. So Control Z, invert. Oh, take away that mask. Some other cool selection tools to keep in mind would be your select lasso. And there's also a lasso tool for masking as well. Where was it? Am I blind? Ah, it's right there. Just like so. Okay. So, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to explore ZBrush. Let me know if you guys have any questions. And yeah, then I'll start the demo. All right. If you have any questions, always feel free to ask. Ooh. Look at this, it's crashing. Oh, take it back. Ah. Peter, I blame you. For it.
Yeah, I usually have them running around so Paris does.
Yeah,
By the way, my boy is on.
Oh shit. Oh yeah. Peter, this is why you're our secretary, you know? What a guy. Very helpful.
I think Mr. House though.
Bro, look at this.
Vice President.
Sometimes, just a heads up, people, ZBrush likes to crash. Every time ZBrush crashes, blame Peter, alright? Keep that in mind. Oh, I see some pretty cool sculpts coming along. One minute left and I'll continue the demo. Just a heads up, people. If ZBrush opens. There we go. Alright everybody, I'll be continuing our demo right now. So, I'll be doing a fun little head. I don't know what kind of head, but we'll figure out. It looks cool. The spike's coming out. So, generally, what I like to do first is just get the proportions that I want. In fact, this goes back to another useful brush I like to introduce to you guys. It's BMV. This is our move brush. Kind of scooch this around so we get a good proportion. You know what? Let's give this guy some elf ears. Oh, what's up?
What brush are you using?
I'm using BMV. That is the move brush. Cool. Got it all proportioned out. So something that this is pretty crucial for when you're sculpting. I usually always keep this on, depending on the situation. But go to brush, auto masking, back face mask. So an example I can show you with why that is important. Without back face mask, you have something like this happen, right? But if you turn it on, boom. It does not cause, well, the back facing, you know, mess up, but. So I'm just gonna start sculpting, and generally what I like to do is have it down to right about here. I just start sketching out whatever, you know? I'm just smoothing it out. And generally, you'd want a good understanding of facial anatomy when you're sculpting in general. Oh, and another thing to keep in mind, go to geometry, Dynamesh. I would probably crank the Dynamesh resolution to right about here. And what you do, if you want a quick method to Dynamesh, you're on Control, while Dynamesh is on, Control, drag it out, and Dynameshes. Which basically retopos, in a sense, the wireframe, but although, apology, you see, it's kind of disgusting. That's why we normally manually retopo. We're gonna crank that down a little bit more. There we go. Generally, I like to start at a lower resolution for every character that I make. Like I said, this just comes with a basic understanding of how human anatomy works. That's why we usually like to say that concept artists can generally become the best sculptors, because, well, you know, that's kind of what they do. Well, at least if you're a character concept artist. BTD. Just try and get the general shape down. BDS. Here's a cool trick with the lips. Lock them out like so. Smooth them out. Give it a subdivision. And how you give subdivisions in ZBrush, you hit Control D. Or simply hit divide. And to go down is Shift D. And of course, you got the little scrubber right here. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. Give it another subdivision. Hit Alt or hold down Alt. BCB. Yes. Just keep on bringing that in. BCB. Sculpting out the lip, like so. BMV. Move down the lips a little bit more on the sides. Now, let's bring in the lips. B-I-N. B-C-B. Oh. B-C-D. B-M-V. B-C-B. That's just a quick little demo on lips. Of course, you can keep on detailing as you like. But generally, that's how I would get like a basic shape for lips, at least. Or like just basic block out. Any questions so far?
For the brushes, whenever you're selecting the specific letters, do any of them stand for anything specific?
Yes. So B, C is generally your like clay brushes. And also there's cloth brushes mixed in as well. B, S is generally your selection brushes and your smooth brushes. B, M is usually like your move brushes and your masking brushes. B, I. Well, you got I and M, but we won't talk about that. But of course you have your inflate over there. Let's see, BV, nah. BP. You don't have to worry about these. These are a little bit more advanced. But in any case, they do mean something. Any other questions? Okay, let's keep going. BCB. So for the nose, I just sculpt it out like so, really. All the while just moving it out. Again, this just comes from knowing a solid foundation on facial anatomy. We'll get to actual like human anatomy here at some point. In fact, if you want to learn more about anatomy, we have our awesome tutor over here, Ben Raven. He's going to be doing an extra help session on anatomy at some point.
Next Friday from 4 to 6. Are any of you guys in 333 or 733? I'm your guys' TA. So Fridays from 4 to 6, I'll be doing extra help.
Thank you, Ben. That's pretty much a nose. Kind of just chisel in that nostril a bit more. BCB. Bless you. One thing that a lot of people don't keep in mind is that we do have these facial wrinkles right here. And they usually forget that with their sculpting. So how they look in 3D, you usually start right here. Smooth it out. Just like so. And it's a little bit harder to tell because of the material I'm using. Also, if you want to select a new material, my apologies, you click here. Generally, people start with this. This hurts my eyes. I don't know about you guys, but like, it's like, oof, kills me. So I just go matte cap gray. That's just usually what I would do. So BTD. Just keep on blocking it out like so. Oh, getting in as much detail as you can. Now another thing that you might be wondering is what kind of strokes should you use? Generally, when I'm doing some of the organic or just blocking out in general, I usually go for like this sort of zigzag pattern where it's a back and forth. But that's just a small thing. BCB. What time is it? Good. Still good on time. And now I'm just blocking out the temple area. If we're taking Parrish's class, he usually says all these fun, fancy names for facial anatomy. I personally don't. But it's always good to keep in mind, especially if it's just the general stuff. Because at the end of the day, who's going to know what an extensor digitorum is? Exactly. Another thing to keep in mind, so a lot of people don't know this, but to make a face more masculine or more feminine, it's all in the head, like forehead to be more particular. So a more feminine facial anatomy is curved like this, or sloped. More masculine, but essentially, well, not that much, but be a bit more so like this. I learned that from the previous Scat Sculpts president. I don't know what he's doing. I'm sure he's doing something. Existing, more likely, but at least let's hope he's existing. And now, let's do the eyes. So, if you recall, you just go to Append, Sphere 3D. Now, here's a new thing I haven't told you guys yet. The gizmo. To activate your gizmo, you hit W. And this is just like any other gizmo in most 3D software. How you want to go about doing this part, or at least, you know what, I'll just show you guys how a lot of these things work. So, just clicking on it, left click, up, down, forward and back, left and right. The center one does this, and that, and this does that. This could rotate it. Let's see. And how you want to move your gizmo, you hold on Alt. If you want it to go back to the sensor position of your mesh, Alt again, you click this little location icon. It goes back. Now, how you want to snap, at least with rotation, and actually no, this applies to any of them. You hold down Shift to snap. Just like so. And now, we're just gonna bring that down to where it could then match up with the eye socket. And then we can start some sculpting around the eyes in particular. And normally, we're starting out, you probably do the eye method. Just like calculate and measure the distance. But I kind of just eyeball it nowadays. Get it? Eyeball? I eyeball it? Yeah, yeah, you get it. You get it too. We have fun around here. And how you like to mirror and weld it, at least just mirror it. You go to Modify Topology in your Geometry Settings in the Tool folder. You hit Mirror and Weld. The other way to mirror it, I'm going to double click on the divider here. I'm going to close this. And then I'm going to go to Z plugin, Subtool Master, Mirror. And I want to merge it into one subtool, at least for eyes. Now, this looks a little funky. Trust me, I get it. But it'll make sense here shortly. So now, I'm just going to sculpt the eyelids, like so. When I first started sculpting, I used to do the method that a lot of you guys are probably doing right now. Cut the spear in half, rotate it to match up to make the eyelids. I get it. But I find to be sculpting it to be a bit more interesting. Plus, I feel like an actual sculptor rather than, I don't know. I don't really know what to call the other one, but. Again, this is just using the basic knowledge of facial anatomy. One thing to keep in mind, the tear ducts always lines up with your nostrils. It's moving around like so. Another cool brush to keep in mind, BCV. This is your cloth move. Generally, I use that to generate wrinkles and skin as well. It's pretty useful. Bring this up another set vision. Another cool thing about ZBrush that you can do. So I'm going to click on my material. I'm going to click on this one material called Toy Plastic, if I can find it. This is how you can get a glossy look on your eyes. That'll help you with your understanding of like the pupils and whatnot. So go to BS, not that one, BSU. Bring that up. Click ZAdd and A to get rid of those. And now just keep mRGB on. What you're going to want to do now, just paint that on, right? To which then, if you now take it off, and go back to matte cap gray, it's there. My silly self did not have symmetry on when I did that, so I'm just going to do that again. Ah, right there. Just going to repaint it. If I want pupils, what I'm going to do is hold on Control, mask it out with a drag, well, not drag, with a rect or a mask pen. Whoa, look at this guy. Looks a little, you know, one of those guys. Now that's just about what I'm trying to look for. And so then, bring this down to a darker color. Oh, look at this. Paint that over. Take off the mask. Go back to matte cap gray. Bring it back to white. And boom. And you have some neat little irises that help you kind of determine where to go from there. Also, if you want to isolate, or just like go to like isolation mode, similar to like what's in Maya, you go to solo mode. Those have a dynamic function right here. It's where turn that on. Yeah, it's not working. There you go. You then just get this little weird effect. I was gonna turn that off. Generally, when you're doing your irises, you want them to be about a quarter small compared to the rest of the iris. Or not iris, but the rest of the eye. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, let's keep going. ECB. Constantly changing my draw size so I can get different effects of my strokes. Just got a little block out going on down there. BCB. Just kind of just constantly going on at it. Maybe not that. Let's get to the ears. Okay. So for the ears, like I said, having that back face mask on is really important. So what I like to do is just carve it out first. Just like so. Now, one thing to keep in mind when it comes to ears is that it's more than just like a hole going in. There's all sorts of funky shapes going on when you're making ears. But one shape in particular would be the Y. There's a Y shape in your ears, believe it or not. Essentially. Let's just keep sculpting that down a little bit more. We'll get to that Y in a second. But generally, you have this tube thing. I don't really know what to call it. Again, I don't keep in mind of these names, but again, you're just gonna remember what a stratus is. Okay. Well, I guess it was a bad joke. Anyways, they have this Y, just like so. Now, this is not really good representation what the Y shape looks like, but it does get the general idea down. And since this is a sort of elfish ear, sometimes you gotta make it up a little bit as you go. And generally, ears are much thinner than this, so you go back, just chisel away. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, guess I'll keep going. I just use clay buildup. What else? Just a little bit more of the back here. Smooth it all out. BCB. BCB again. Time check. All right. Everything I like to do, especially when it comes to nostrils, it's pretty cool. Just draw it out. Another thing with masking is if you want to control, you just invert this. You click on the mask while also holding down on control. You can blur the mask, just like so. And what you can now do is just move it on up. Have deeper nostrils. Again, feel free to ask questions if you have them. I'm going to be here for quite a while. However, the meeting is almost over, but for those that are interested in staying, I will be doing a hair demo next. So. Do another subdivision. Let's give her a bit more of a frown. Alright. Now, let's try to do some hair. So, generally, when I start hair, I like to do a little block out. So, let's bring in a spear. BSH. BSH is another useful brush, by the way. I always like to think of it as more of a advanced move brush. Just kind of move it around like so. And now we got some hair, which we're going to want to do to detail it and get it ready for detailing, however. Go to Dynamo Mesh, change the resolution, smooth it up. BCB. And generally, this is what I like to do when I'm blocking out hair. I like to like sculpt random hair strands and whatnot. Just like so. Edit out. Okay.
You ready for that out?
Yeah, I'm very good.
Ready to do it?
Oh,
here's.
Chloe gave this man a try out, yeah. You could be the guinea pig, though.
I'll be fine.
I'll do ZBrush.
Alright, you got it out?
Yeah.
This is a famous Peter I've been talking about, by the way.
You talk to
Camera.
no visual.
Yeah, you're visible.
What's up, y'all?
It's gonna be posted later.
How many people watch it?
To watch the recordings? I don't know, probably like 20 people, 20, 30.
That's way more than I figured it would be.
Okay.
Dang.
Gabe, what do you guys on rough of?
I just look at the YouTube views.
Hold up.
Pull up.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm ready to see 9 views.
97 views.
9. Not 90. I watched them once, so I did add a view on them. Okay.
Yeah, 25 views for this one.
How many people refresh the screen though?
I don't know.
Yeah, you did.
Game 7 30 times.
I did have a lot of people look at this one, but that's just people from my capstone. They're probably just rewatching it. But, I don't know.
Go to your videos. There's that one of you in the thumbnail.
The one you
Go to videos. This one cracks me up.
No, I already deleted it.
Oh, no. I got a picture of it.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
Okay.
I'm gonna chill tonight and then lock it all day long and finish my ass, bro.
Fair.
Do Marvin. Yeah. And I'll take my resume.
I was just looking at this the other day.
This is nothing like the one you made before.
Listen, we won't talk about that one. Just make a little bun. Huh?
You gotta play these demos out more.
It's
Or
fine.
spread them out more.
Yeah.
Well, how would you spread them out already every other week? You have 2 demos?
Yeah. One at the end, one at the beginning.
Yeah.
I guess. Also, we should push the Mars set demos at the end. Oh, there is one. Okay. Why are there 2?
One's for the Claymore at midterms and one's for the final.
Gotcha.
I'll be those.
Oh, that was my idea. The
There
Claymore
it is.
one, yeah.
Mhm.
I remember that. Alright, yeah. Another way to get it.
Nah.
See ya.
Alright, take care. Thank you for coming. Essentially, this is what a hair blockout would look like. Again, I'm using the harsher stroke method. Put a little bun there. And how I like to get eyebrows, it's also similar to just what I did for the hair. Pin it in another sphere. Geometry. Dynamo Mesh. Let's bring that down quite a bit. Just gonna bring it on up. That looks like I have symmetry on. Just gonna move it around. Generally, you would generate the hair using either hair cards or hair sim or whatnot, but since this is just a sculpting demo, this is pretty much how you'd make a little block out of them. And then just mirror mold it. BMV, X, ECB, BTD, actually. It's kind of smooth out certain areas using a trim dynamic. Let's see. And let's put a little pin in her hair, because why not? Just gonna move that up. Give that a couple subdivisions. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Geometry, Dynamesh, Dynamesh that again. Just like so. Let's try to do something here. Normally, you use this method called, or not method, but brush called ZBrush to make this. But I'm just sculpting it out because why not? ECV. We've got some subdivisions. Dynamesh it. It's a little cool little pattern. Think that like sort of an owl maybe, owlish eyes. BSH. Yeah, let's give this kind of a owl silhouette. Why not? ECB. Another cool thing, put it on shift, like so, and let go. Get a pretty cool straight pattern there. Not really a pattern per se, but down the center. Let's make this a bit more needle-ish at the bottom here. There we go. And then, just for fun, a pin, put another cylinder, Alt, click on that, drag this out, its geometry, mirror mold it, give it some subdivisions, BDS, have symmetry on, put on Alt. Actually, quite silly. I could have just done this. W. Bring back there. This works out even better. We're just aiming to get a cool little design going on. It kind of looks like a fork. Or something. I don't know. Probably eat something with this. I don't know what the... Maybe salad. You think salad? This. You think this would be like a salad fork? Okay, you're right. And that's what it's going to be used for now. What's supposed to be a hairpin? Yeah. And this is that hard surface techniques that I was mentioning before. It's going down Alt, BT. You gotta sculpt with the intention of making it look like a sort of statue thing, maybe. BT. PCB. Another cool thing that ZBrush has is their deformation tools, or their deformers. For instance, the one I like to use most is Inflate. And now, if I want it to be on the other side, put on Alt. And now I'm just gonna mirror weld it again. Like so. Click here. Then what you're going to want to do now is simply merge them together. Just like so. And maybe make it look a little bit longer. Wow, it really does look like a pitchfork. Yeah, let's just keep those off. Delete hidden. Now we got this nice lady. A little bit old, but you don't discriminate here. Anyways, that's the demo. Does anyone have any questions? What's up?
If you use like the selection tool and hide part or something, can you scale down only that part and affect the other parts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, cool. So that's the demo. This video will be posted here soon on the Sculpt server. I'll be putting back up the QR code again for those that are not in the server. And yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Of course.